I am excited and confident about getting my vaccine today.
Tonight, the Prime Minister takes a shot in the arm to calm fears over the AstraZeneca vaccine.
One of the things that we're very proud of is that all First Nation communities have been immunized.
The BC Chief Medical Health Officer calms fears in a Canadian COVID-19 hotspot.
You don't have that right, because I can take it away with the flash of a pen. I can take away all your rights right now.
And this Alberta doctor's bedside manner is caught on video by a woman who says all she wanted was help with her stomach pain. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Almost 30% of Canadians have now received their first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, and today 2 more were added to that list. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife Sophie Gregoire got theirs. This comes at a time when vaccine hesitancy across the country, specifically around the AstraZeneca vaccine, is at an all-time high. Jamie Pashagumskim reports.
At his press conference earlier, the Prime Minister reassured Canadians there is no reason for concern. This amid reports AstraZeneca doses are going unused due to questions over whether the vaccine causes blood clots.
I am excited and confident about getting my vaccine today. I can highlight that Health Canada is always ensuring that any doses we receive in Canada are safe and effective.
Trudeau demonstrated his confidence by rolling up his sleeve at a downtown Ottawa pharmacy, where both he and Sophie received their doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine. In other vaccine news, Canada has struck a new deal with Pfizer to receive additional vaccine doses in the coming years for the purpose of booster shots.
In terms of looking forward to booster shots, I think Canadians expect us to be ready for whatever happens, and there is certainly a hope that booster shots might not be necessary. But we are much better off to ensure that we are prepared in case they are.
Minister of Procurement Anita Anand said the new deal will secure doses up to 2024.
This agreement with Pfizer will provide us with the flexibility to procure booster shots as well as new vaccine formulations to protect against variants of concern and vaccines developed for younger populations. This is a very positive development for all Canadians.
Jamie Pashagumskim, APTN National News, Ottawa.
This morning, the BC government announced new travel restrictions to battle the third wave of COVID-19 there. With cases growing, BC Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth has restricted travel within 3 regions of the province. The order will remain in place until at least May 25th. People face a $575 fine for traveling without a valid reason.
Based on the advice of the provincial health officer, I'm restricting non-essential travel into or out of all health authority regions in British Columbia, effective immediately. This order will remain in place until after the May long weekend.
With British Columbia facing some of its harshest COVID-19 restrictions yet, APTN's Tina House sat down with BC Chief Medical Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry by Zoom.
Who's winning the race right now against getting people vaccinated over the spread of COVID-19 and the variants?
One of the things that we're very proud of is that all First Nation communities have been immunized. All Indigenous peoples are eligible for vaccines, so go and get it now. It not only protects you, but it protects your family and your community.
When will we get data about how the current vaccines are protecting us against the variants?
So right now, it looks like about 0.04 to 0.07% of people who've been immunized go on to get COVID if you wait a long enough period of time. So in the first 2 to 3 weeks, your body's immune system is still building up. And we do see people who are exposed and who get sick in that period of time. So, but after that period of time, it goes down quite dramatically.
Are there plans to create a specific vaccine for the variants themselves?
The companies, Pfizer and Moderna and AstraZeneca, they're all looking at whether they can tweak the RNA that's in the vaccine to be more, to address the mutations that we're worried about. So but all of these vaccines work against, they They stimulate your body to develop antibodies to the spike protein. And so the variants of concern means that there's a mutation that changes that spike protein a little bit. And the worry is that if it changes too much, the vaccines won't stimulate the right antibodies anymore. So yes, they are looking at that. And it is possible that we might need to have a booster with a slightly different booster dose, a different vaccine.
Of course, everybody's talking about the travel restrictions that are supposed to be implemented this Friday. How will that work? And how can you clarify for me what essential travel means?
So what we're talking about is travel for recreation or vacation. And there'll be very explicit exemptions. So work travel is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about going to, if somebody's moving from one place to another, for example, moving their household or have to go for medical reasons. But we do need people to do those safely and to make sure you're following all the safety protocols.
Are you prepared to look at full lockdowns like Ontario is going through right now if the situation continues to get worse?
Our intent is not, obviously, we're trying right now to protect our hospital system, and that means we'll take some more measures in hospitals. So this is what we need to do. We've started to see a leveling off of our cases in BC. We need people to stay the course. Stay the course right now. Get vaccinated.
We want to hear what you think about how the government is handling the third wave in your region. Here's how you can continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and now TikTok. And of course, you can follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. 30-year-old Billy Winnell Johnson went missing on Christmas Eve. This week, her remains were found in a farmer's field near Edmonton. Back in February, Edmonton police had charged her boyfriend, 35-year-old Kenneth Cotteriel, with second-degree murder. Johnson's family hopes the charge is upgraded to first-degree murder now that her body's been found. Edmonton police say that a charge of committing an indignity to a body is pending. A woman who went to a hospital in southern Alberta says she had an unpleasant experience with staff there. She recorded the incident and has launched a complaint. It's the second complaint in a rural Alberta hospital involving an Indigenous woman in recent months. Tamara Pimentel has the latest.
That's a possibility that you could die this evening?
This video, captured by Marissa Smoke, was taken at the Cardston, Alberta Hospital on March 25th. As she lays in a hospital bed, she says she was taken by ambulance for severe abdominal pain.
That day was incredibly hard, and so I had to call an ambulance at work.
And that visit has caused her and her lawyer, Ingrid Hess, to file a complaint, which was sent to Alberta Health Services, the College of Physicians and Surgeons, and the College and Association of Registered Nurses in Alberta.
We're just here to help you, okay? We don't need to take your and for you to give us attitude.
Can I sign their documents?
You need to stop acting so entitled and just take it for what it is.
We are particularly concerned about the treatment that she received by one nurse who's depicted in the video. The nurse uses foul language, makes horrible accusations towards a person who's vulnerable in a state of distress.
You just sign a form.
As Smoke leaves the bed, the nurse can be heard telling her that she has to sign a form.
She doesn't have to sign a document. It's better for them at the hospital if they make, if they get her to sign a document that she's leaving against their medical advice, but it's not. You can't force someone to sign a document.
A doctor who introduces himself as Dr. Clark then approaches her, saying he could have her arrested.
I need to sign the documents and get out of here, please, because this is abuse.
I just want to go through a little exercise with you. Just look me in the eye. Please do this with me right now. No. Please just talk to me. I'm going to have you arrested unless you do this with me.
We have submitted a complaint to the College of Physicians and Surgeons, and that specifically addresses the conduct of Dr. Clark in his interactions with Ms. Smoke. in particular his threats to her to take her freedom away, to have her confined.
I'm just telling you that I want to exercise my right to leave.
You don't have that right, because I can take it away with the flash of a pen. I can take away all your rights right now.
Alberta Health Services, the College of Physicians and Surgeons, and the College and Association of Registered Nurses say they are unable to comment as the complaint is currently undergoing an investigation. Smoke says she is still working with doctors at another clinic to find the source of her abdominal pain, but she says she hopes to see some change after her complaint is investigated.
It's been difficult when we go through incidences like this. It's violent in every way, so it causes us to question our self-worth.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Lethbridge.
We need to take a break, but still ahead, a Northern MP apologizes for questioning another Northern MP's identity. Stay with us. Welcome back. AFN National Chief Perry Bellegarde addressed the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues today, where he gave an update on the progress of Canada's Bill C-15, a proposed bill to make sure the laws of Canada comply with the principles of UNDRIP. He asked the forum to remind nations to continue working with Indigenous people and said the work accomplished in Canada could serve others around the world.
C-15 affirms our inherent right of self-determination, a right of all peoples, including Indigenous peoples, under international law. C-15 will complement recently enacted federal laws, including Indigenous languages and child welfare legislation that include reference to the Declaration.
Earlier this week, we brought you a story about Quebec's domestic violence crisis and the service gaps faced by Inuit in Nunavik. Well, some good news came today. Quebec is investing a hefty sum in hopes of fixing these problems. They'll be implementing a 5-year, $223 million emergency response plan to fight domestic violence. $92 million will go to increasing the capacity and services offered by existing women's shelters, but it's not known if there will be more shelters built. Where there's only 3 crisis centers now serving all 14 Inuit communities in Nunavik. Genevieve Guilbeault says the emergency plan includes targeted funding for First Nations and Inuit.
The plan and the investments that we are announcing today contain a lot of measures, and some of which are specifically dedicated to make sure that we are able to offer proper services to the First Nations and Inuits. And there is about 30 million of this whole amount of money that is dedicated to First Nations and Inuits to make sure that we are able to provide them services that are culturally adapted and securizing for them.
Nunavut NDP MP Mumulak Kaka is apologizing for demanding a Liberal MP in Labrador prove her, quote, enoughness. Nunatsiaq News in Iqaluit broke the story about how a 33-minute Twitter video escalated this identity fight. Kaka challenged Liberal MP Yvonne Jones to prove her enoughness. Hours later, Kaka emailed Nunatsiaq News apologizing for how she handled the situation, according to the online news service. Jones told Nunatsiaq News the video was, quote, immature and naive and, quote, lateral racism. This isn't the first time Kaka has accused Jones of not being Inuk. Jones belongs to Nunavut and says that she is proud of her Inuit and settler roots in Labrador. No word if either the NDP or the Liberal parties are weighing in on the matter. Earlier today in Ottawa, the Supreme Court of Canada upheld the acquittal of an American-born Sinixt man. Richard Desautels was accused of hunting elk without a license in BC, but with today's decision, Indigenous people living in the United States can now assert Aboriginal rights in Canada, even if they don't live here. For more, we are joined by web reporter Brett Forrester. Brett, before we get into the ruling, can you take us through the background of this case?
Certainly. So in 2010, Rick Desautels, a Sin-Eixt man from what is now Washington State, traveled north to British Columbia in order to hunt for elk. Now, his hunt was successful. However, when he reported it to provincial authorities, they charged him with hunting without a license. Now, in the lower court, he was acquitted. The Crown opted to appeal, and he was acquitted again, and the Crown sought leave once again to appeal to the High Court, and now this morning the High Court issued its ruling, which was once again favorable to Mr. Desautels.
Now, this was apparently a split decision. What was in the decision?
You're exactly right. This was a 7-2 split. So Justice Malcolm Rowe, writing for the majority, essentially summarized this as a test case, the core question of which is whether Aboriginal peoples of Canada, in the wording of Section 35 of the Constitution, can extend to Indigenous groups who may not reside in Canada, but whose traditional territory does exist in what is now Canada. So as you may imagine, there are numerous nations across Turtle Island whose territory is slashed in half by the border who may be impacted by this ruling. And he answered in the affirmative. There were 2 dissenting judges who did not agree. They did not believe that this should be extended to groups who do not reside in Canada. So that may factor into future cases. However, for now, this is a massive win for the nation, and they are celebrating.
Now, I want to get to the tribe that we're talking about here, but first, he's won the right to hunt, but can you take what you harvest across the border with you?
It would appear that he can. I asked him this question earlier today on the phone, and he said they had actually arranged this beforehand with British Columbia, and they were able to bring the moose back to the USA and distribute it quartered out to the elders. However, when you're talking about mobility rights that are exist somehow outside of normal legislation, whether through Jay Treaty or an Aboriginal freedom of movement, these would have to be litigated again. And I spoke to Chairman Rodney Costin of the Colville Reservation, and he says that's something they are looking forward to working with British Columbia and Canada with in the future.
Almost as big of a story is the fact that the federal government has declared the Sin-Eixt extinct here in the 50s. Can you give us a little bit of background on that? How are we going to court with people who are extinct?
Yes, it's kind of interesting. You'd have to naturally imagine that if they can litigate a court case in Canada that they're obviously not extinct. However, this was not a question that the court was asked to determine, and so therefore they did not issue a ruling upon it. So if they need to assert their presence as a living, breathing Indigenous nation who has a claim to lands in Canada, they're going to have to do that through some other mechanism because it wasn't contained in this ruling. So again, that's something that I'm told they're looking forward to doing moving forward.
Well, thank you for joining us, Brett. Certainly something I've been meaning to delve into is these extinct people who phone me up and say they're not extinct. So maybe there's something we can work on together in the future. Thanks so much for joining us and filling us in on this landmark ruling.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Time for another break, but when we come back, APTN Investigates dives into the Peter Nygard saga. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Our viewer Dave Menzies sent us this photo of a beaver-made pond that he captured while he was in the Sandylands Park. That's in southern Manitoba. This weekend, get out your camera, take a picture, and then you send that picture to share at aptn.ca. Then you tune in each night to see if your photo is our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast.
Off to the east coast, we got 16 in sunshine for Fredericton, 9 in cloud for St. John's. Happy Valley Goose Bay, 5 degrees with some flurries expected, sunshine, -10 for Inukjuak. Chibougamau, 7 in sunshine, Gaspé, 10 and some showers there. Ottawa, 18 and rain expected, sunshine, and 14 for North Bay. Kapuskasing, -2 and snows, +2 and sunshine for Big Trout Lake. Pakatawagan, -3 and snow. God's Lake, snowing there too, 2 degrees. Sunny in southern Manitoba, though, 9 for Gimli and Winnipeg, 8 for Brandon and Dauphin. Mix of sun and cloud and 6 degrees for Swift Current. Sunshine and 6 for Saskatoon and Yorkton. -7 for Uranium City and Stony Rapids. Snow there. A pair of zeros for Buffalo Narrows and La Ronge and sunshine. Peace River 6 with a chance of flurries there. Fort Chip -2 and snow. Sunshine for Edmonton. That's the only place in southern Alberta. 7 mix of sun and cloud for Medicine Hat. 10 and cloud for Vancouver. 11 sunshine for Quesnel. Dease Lake and Fort Nelson sunshine and 8 degrees. Smithers 11 and sunny. Dawson City and Mayo both 9 degrees and sunny skies. Old Crow 5 and sunshine. 3 and snow for Fort Simpson and Wrigley. -7 in Wauti and snow expected there too. Sunshine -1 for Colville Lake. Fort McPherson 5 and sunny. Baker Lake -14 and sunshine. New Yacht sunny -8. Kenite -4 and snow. Same with Igloolik. Talioke -9 and snow.
Winnipeg fashion mogul Peter Nygard has been charged in the United States with several criminal counts and also faces a class action lawsuit. Now, at least 20 women have complained that police in this country, and they wonder why police aren't adequately investigating their cases. APTN Investigates producer Holly Moore is here to talk about the episode Homegrown, which airs tonight, right after the news. Holly, tell us what's happening in the U.S. with regard to Peter Nygard.
Well, Mr. Nygard has been charged with 9 counts, including sex trafficking and racketeering. There was also a class action lawsuit that was filed originally by 10 women in spring 2020. That number has now grown to 57 women, including one of the women who is in our upcoming episodes. So Mr. Nygard is right now in Winnipeg at Headingley Correctional Center, and he's awaiting a hearing that will determine if he is extradited to New York to face those charges. His bail hearing was just denied, and then he appealed that hearing, and it was also denied again.
So I guess, you know, where does this go from here? What happens next for him? As you said, this is an issue that straddles not just the Canada-US border, but it's in the Caribbean as well. Where does it go next?
Well, certainly in our documentary, we focused on Indigenous women in Winnipeg who are quite upset and concerned that Canadian authorities don't seem to be taking the allegations as seriously as the U.S. authorities. So we do know that at least 20 women have filed across Canada, but thus far there's been no criminal charges at all. And so what they would like is to see some charges or at least an adequate investigation come forward before Mr. Nygard is extradited to the U.S., if that's indeed the decision that's made. So now he is awaiting an extradition hearing that will happen in November of this year. But of course, we spoke to experts who said, you know, a number of appeals could happen, and so it could be quite some time before that decision is made.
Well, we look forward to your show tonight, speaking to some of those Indigenous alleged victims and their journey through all of this. Thanks for taking the time to give us a little sneak peek.
Thanks so much.
You can watch Homegrown on the Peter Nygard case right now on APTN Investigates. As we here for APTN National News are all out of time. I'm Melissa Ridgen. I'll see you back here tomorrow with your APTN News Weekend. Have a great night.